Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
Noam Chomsky's Syntactic Structures, published in 1957, represents a seismic shift in the landscape of linguistics, one whose reverberations continue to influence fields far beyond the study of language itself. Understanding its significance requires appreciating the prevailing intellectual climate from which it emerged and the radical departure it represented from established linguistic thought. Structuralism, particularly as articulated by figures such as Leonard Bloomfield and his followers, dominated American linguistics in the mid-20th century. This approach, heavily influenced by behaviorism, emphasized the importance of observable data, distributional analysis, and the rigorous application of scientific methodology to the study of language. Linguistic meaning, under this framework, was understood primarily in terms of stimulus-response associations, with language learning conceived as a process of habit formation. A sentence, according to this viewpoint, was essentially a chain of morphemes, its structure derived from the sequential probabilities of these elements occurring in specific environment. Syntactic structures challenged this paradigm head-on. Chomsky argued that structuralist methods were fundamentally inadequate to account for the creativity and complexity of human language. He proposed that grammar should be conceived as a generative system, a finite set of rules capable of producing an infinite number of grammatical sentences. This concept of generativity was a crucial departure, directly addressing the observation that speakers are capable of producing and understanding sentences they have never encountered before. He introduced the idea of phrase structure rules, formalized using rewrite rules that specified how phrases could be decomposed into their constituent parts. For example, a sentence, denoted by the symbol S, might be rewritten as a noun phrase, denoted by the symbol NP, followed by a verb phrase, denoted by the symbol VP. Each of these phrases could then be further decomposed into smaller constituents, providing a hierarchical representation of sentence structure. Consider a simple illustration. Is becomes NP VP, NP becomes DTN, VP becomes VNP. This, substituting yield det N V det N, given dating and cat, and they saw, we obtain a cat saw a cat. A deeper analysis would refine and expand these rules, but the foundational concept of generative phrase structure is apparent. Chomsky also introduced the concept of transformational rules, which operated on these phrase structure representations to derive different surface structures from the same underlying deep structure. This distinction between deep structure and surface structure was instrumental in explaining ambiguity and syntactic relations. For instance, the sentence John is easy to please and John is eager to please have superficially similar structures, but Chomsky argued that they possess distinct deep structures, reflecting the different semantic roles of John in each sentence. In the first sentence, John is the object of the verb please, while in the second sentence, John is the subject. Transformational rules, such as passivization and WH movement, allowed Chomsky to relate these different structures in a systematic way. Furthermore, Chomsky proposed that the grammar itself was not simply a collection of rules, but a formal system subject to mathematical analysis. He drew inspiration from mathematical logic and formal language theory to model the properties of grammars and to investigate their computational complexity. The initial impact of syntactic structures was profound and immediate, particularly within the burgeoning field of cognitive science. It provided a theoretical framework that resonated with psychologists and computer scientists who were becoming increasingly disillusioned with behaviorism and its limitations in explaining complex cognitive processes. George Miller, a prominent psychologist, was particularly influential in popularizing Chomsky's ideas and demonstrating their relevance to the study of human cognition. Miller's work on short-term memory and language processing provided empirical support for Chomsky's claims about the cognitive reality of grammatical structures. In computer science, Chomsky's work on formal languages had a substantial impact on the development of programming languages and compilers. The Chomsky hierarchy, which classifies formal languages based on their generative power, became a fundamental concept in computer science theory. This hierarchy, comprising regular, context-free, context-sensitive, and recursively enumerable languages, provided a framework for understanding the computational properties of different language classes. The syntax of programming languages, such as ALGOL and COBOL, were explicitly designed with context-free grammars, lending themselves to efficient parsing and compilation. A reception of syntactic structures was, of course, not without its critics. Some linguists, particularly those aligned with structuralist traditions, questioned Chomsky's reliance on intuition and his dismissal of empirical data. Others argued that his theory was overly focused on syntax and neglected the importance of semantics and pragmatics. One prominent critique came from Sidney Lamb, whose stratificational grammar offered an alternative approach to linguistic description, emphasizing the relationships between different levels of linguistic representation. The philosopher Hilary Putnam raised objections to Chomsky's nativism, arguing that the claim that children are born with an innate knowledge of universal grammar was empirically unsupported and philosophically problematic. These critiques, while often sharp, served to stimulate further research and debate within the field of linguistics, leading to refinements and extensions of Chomsky's original theory. In the decades following the publication of Syntactic Structures, Chomsky's theory of transformational generative grammar underwent significant evolution. The standard theory, developed in the 1960s, incorporated the concept of a semantic component, which interpreted the deep structure of sentences to generate semantic representations. This model also introduced explicit rules for mapping between deep structure and surface structure, known as transformations. The extended standard theory, proposed in the 1970s, further refined the theory by incorporating constraints on transformations and by introducing filters to eliminate ungrammatical sentences. Later, the revised extended standard theory considered the influence of semantic interpretation at various stages. One of the most significant developments in Chomskyan linguistics was the minimalist program, introduced in the 1990s. This program sought to simplify the theory of grammar by reducing the number of theoretical primitives and by emphasizing the role of economy principles in grammatical computation. The minimalist program proposed that the grammar consists of only two interfaces: the conceptual intentional system, which is responsible for semantic interpretation, and the sensoromotor system, which is responsible for phonetic realization. All grammatical operations, according to this view, must be driven by the need to satisfy the requirements of these interfaces. Minimalism maintains that underlying principles are maximally simple and universal, with cross-linguistic variation arising from interactions between these principles and language-specific features, such as the properties of individual lexical items. This program has generated much controversy, also considerable research into the underlying nature of language. Syntactic structures exerted enormous influence on later work, both directly and indirectly. Numerous linguists adopted and extended Chomsky's framework, developing new theories and models of grammar. Generative semantics, a school of thought that flourished in the 1960s and 70s, sought to integrate syntax and semantics more closely, arguing that deep structures were essentially semantic representations. While generative semantics ultimately faded as a dominant paradigm, it contributed to a deeper understanding of the relationship between syntax and meaning. Case grammar, developed by Charles Fillmore, proposed that the deep structure of sentences is organized around a set of semantic roles, such as agent, patient, and instrument. These roles are then mapped onto syntactic positions in the surface structure. Dependency grammar, which traces its roots back to Lucien Tesnière, offers an alternative to phrase structure grammar, representing syntactic structures in terms of dependencies between words. While dependency grammar predates syntactic structures, it gained renewed attention as a result of Chomsky's work on formal grammars. Beyond linguistics, Chomsky's work has had a lasting impact on other fields, including philosophy, psychology, and artificial intelligence. His critique of behaviorism played a crucial role in the cognitive revolution, which led to a renewed focus on mental processes and internal representations. His ideas about universal grammar have influenced theories of language acquisition and the nature of human knowledge. The philosopher Jerry Fodor, influenced by Chomsky's theories, developed the modularity of mind hypothesis, which posits that the mind is composed of a set of specialized modules, each responsible for a specific cognitive function. In artificial intelligence, Chomsky's work on formal languages has inspired research on natural language processing and machine translation. While earlier attempts to build rule-based systems for natural language processing were largely unsuccessful, Chomsky's insights into the structure of language continue to inform research in this area. Specific individuals were directly influenced by syntactic structures. George Lakoff, a leading figure in generative semantics, was initially a fervent proponent of Chomsky's theories, later diverging to develop alternative approaches to grammar. James Macaulay, another prominent linguist, also contributed significantly to generative semantics and other areas of linguistic theory. Yehoshua Bar Hillel, an Israeli philosopher and linguist, was one of the first to recognize the potential of Chomsky's work for machine translation. Similarly, Richard Montague, a logician and philosopher, was deeply influenced by Chomsky's formal approach to language, developing Montague grammar, a system for providing formal semantic interpretations of natural language sentences. Similarly, many works demonstrate clear influence from syntactic structures. John Lyon's Introduction to Theoretical Linguistics provides an accessible overview of Chomsky's theories and their impact on the field. Ray Jackendoff's Semantic Interpretation in Generative Grammar explores the relationship between syntax and semantics within a Chomskyan framework. Terry Winograd's Understanding Natural Language attempts to apply Chomsky's ideas to the problem of building computer programs that can understand natural language. These work, the countless others, attest to the enduring legacy of syntactic structures in shaping the course of linguistic and cognitive science. Furthermore, it is important to acknowledge the historical context in which syntactic structures was written. The 1950s was a period of intense intellectual ferment, marked by growing discontent with behaviorism and a renewed interest in cognitive processes. Chomsky's work resonated with the spirit of intellectual inquiry, offering a powerful new framework for understanding the nature of language and the human mind. The Cold War also played a role in shaping the intellectual climate of the time, with the US government investing heavily in scientific research, including linguistics, in an effort to gain a competitive edge over the Soviet Union. This funding helped to support Chomsky's research and to disseminate his ideas to a wider audience. The rise of technology, particularly the development of computers, also had a significant impact on linguistics, providing new tools for analyzing and modeling language. Chomsky's formal approach to grammar was well suited to computational analysis, and his work helped to pave the way for the development of computational linguistics as a distinct field. In conclusion, syntactic structures represents a pivotal milestone in the history of linguistics and cognitive science. Its radical departure from structuralist orthodoxy, its emphasis on generativity and formalization, and its profound implications for our understanding of the human mind have made it one of the most influential works of the 20th century. Despite the many critiques and revisions that Chomsky's theory has undergone over the years, its fundamental insights continue to inspire and challenge researchers across a wide range of disciplines. Syntactic Structures is more than a book, it is a testament to the power of human reason and the enduring quest to understand the nature of language and the mind. It stands as a stark reminder that progress frequently stems from fearless questioning of established dogma and a willingness to explore uncharted intellectual territories, and perhaps, with a touch of self-aware irony, it serves as a generative system for academic debate, forever capable of spawning new interpretations and dissenting viewpoints.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.